Greetings to all. Welcome to Future of this Academy. Today we are going to see the hot topic of the year session 19. Under this we are going to deal with two topics. They are India and China relations and the National Human Rights Commissions. These both comes under GS2 paper. So now we are going to have a detailed analysis of these two topics. Our first topic is India and China relations. Under this we are going to see the background and what are the areas of cooperation that has been between India and China, and what are the current relationship between India and China, and their concerns have been discussed under this topic. First, background. In 1950, on April, India and China established a diplomatic relations. India was the first non-socialistic nation to forge diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China, and the popular slogan Hindi Chini Bye Bye so became an associated with this country. Next, in 1955, both the nations attended the Asian African Conference, which was held in Banten, Indonesia, and at which 29 nations took part. At the conference, they all endorsed the Banten Spread, which stands for friendship, solidarity, and cooperation. Here, all of Asia and Africa have been freed from colonial rule, and the non-alignment movement has been emerged as a third force mediating between the two superpower blocs. The first NAM Summit conference was held in September 1961 in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. In 1962, the bilateral relations suffered a significant setback as a result of the border dispute. Then in 1976, bilateral relations gradually improved as India and China re-established an ambassadorial relations. Next, in 1988, visit to China, Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi started the process for normalizing bilateral relations. These two parties decided to move forward and actively cultivate a bilateral ties in other areas while looking for the compromise on boundary disputes. Now, what are the areas of cooperation seen between India and China? They are in various, like in political relations, commercial and economic relations. Next, in cultural relations. Next, educational relations. So these are some of the areas of cooperation between India and China. In political relations, to establish a stability and substance in bilateral relations, the agreement on the maintenance of peace and tranquility along the line of actual control on India's China border areas have been signed. The two nations also expanded their military and strategic ties in 2018. A high-level dialogue mechanism on counter-terrorism and security has been established by China and India. Under the commercial and economic relations, China announced plans to build two industrial parks in India and to increase China's investment in the country. India granted Chinese nationals access to e-visas. Now, the strategic dialogues led by the chairman of National Development and Reform Commission of China and the vice chairman of Niti Aayog, joint economic group chaired by the commerce ministers of both the sides. Under the cultural relations, it says an agreement has been reached between China and India to co-produce films. In China, yoga is growing in popularity. The UN resolution declaring June 21 is the International Day of Yoga had China as one of its co-sponsors. Now, in educational relations, China and India signed the Educational Exchange Program on overarching agreement for mutual educational cooperation. Every year, scholarships are given to Chinese students to study Hindi at Kendriya Hindi Sansthan. Now, what are the recent actions have been taken between India and China is Arunachal Pradesh is still claimed by China as southern Tibet. After renaming 6 locations in Arunachal Pradesh in 2017, Beijing renamed 15 more recently. So, in soldiers in Ladakh, the bloody Galwan conflict in 2020 we have seen being living in a constant fear have paid high price of minor development. So, in LOC negotiations. Then this trust for SCO, it for not demands of the approaching Shanghai Cooperative Organization, which seemed to result in small progress. The 16th consecutive commanders meeting would have been resulted in another pointless conclusion. In a bilateral trade, a significant increase in Chinese exports trade between India and China increased in billions, but in first half of this year, putting it on track to surpass billions for the second year is in a row. Now, what are the concerns regarding the India and China relationship? The concerns are Beijing had not reacted to India's support for Beijing on international issues. For example, China has opposed India's permanent membership in UN Security Council and entry into the NSG. So India has opposed the Belt and Road Initiative since its inception, citing the China's Pakistan economic corridor as evidence of the violation of its sovereignty. There is a significant trade imbalance that favors China over India. China's trade deficit increased significantly. After failing to find the solution to their border dispute, two nations gradually built up their armed force along border regions. China's military incursions into Indian territory have been reported by Indian media outlets on a regular basis. India's economic and military operations in a disputed South China Sea have been alarmed China. China's strong strategic bilateral relationships with Pakistan and other neighboring countries like Nepal and Bhutan are cause for concern as these countries act as a buffer states. India is concerned about this rising Chinese activities in the Indian Ocean. So that's all from the Indian-China relations. Our next topic is National Human Rights Commission, that is NHRC. Under this, what is National Human Rights Commission and what are the composition, their functions of their powers, and the various initiatives according to this have been going to discuss under this topic. To defend and advance human rights in India, a separate statutory body called National Human Rights Commission was found. Its duties include examining and resolving violations of human rights and formulating suggestions for their preservation and advancement. India's concern for the advancement and defense of human rights is embodied in the National Human Rights Commission, which was founded in accordance with the Protection of Human Rights Act, that is PHRA Act 1993. So it is set up in the line with the Paris Principle, which were decided upon the first international workshop on National Institution for Human Rights Protection. Now, what are the composition of this NHRC contains? It has 5 full-time members. Also 7 deemed members. Next, and the chairperson makeup of the NHRC. The qualifications for the appointment of this commission members and chairpersons are outlined in the statute. Who are done by this nominations are the President of India appoints the chairperson and the members of the NHRC on the advice of the committee made by the Prime Minister, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Minister of Home Affairs, Leader of Opposition of Lok Sabha, Leader of the Opposition of Rajya Sabha, and the Deputy Chairman. What is their term? 3 years are until the members and the chairperson turn 70. Removal. How their removal is seen? The Supreme Court investigation, the President may order the removal of the chairperson or any other member of the commission from their position if it can be shown that they have engaged in misbehavior or are incapable. The chairperson or any other member may be removed from office by the President by order if the chairperson or such other member is found to be insolvent and takes on any paid job outside of his official responsibilities while serving in office, unable to hold office due to a physical or mental disability, also has the competent court declared that they are mentally incompetent, also if it is found guilty and given a prison sentence for a crime that in the President's judgment involves moral turpitude. Now, what are the functions of this National Human Rights Commission? They perform the various duties. The National Human Rights Commission are intended to uphold and advance human rights in India. The main duties of these are look into allegations of human rights violations, including betrayal and carelessness on the part of the public official in preventing such violations. Also, with the consent of the court in question, intervene in any proceedings involving any allegations of human rights violation that is currently pending. Also, to examine the protections provided by the Constitution and current laws of the protection of human rights and suggested ways to ensure that they are effectively implemented. Also, to examine the elements such as terrorism that obstruct the exercise of human rights and suggest suitable corrective actions. Also, research human rights treaties and other international instruments and offer recommendation. In such a way, it has various functions. Now, what are the powers of this National Human Rights Commission? With the help of several authorities, the National Human Rights Commission is able to fulfill its mandate, which is to uphold and advance human rights in India. The abilities include are investigation and inquiring into complaints of human rights violations in accordance with Code of Civil Procedure in 1908. At first, this is call witness, compel their attendance and question them under oath, and finding and presenting any document. Also by obtaining proof through affidavits and obtaining a copy of any public record or record from a court or office. By also granting commissions to examine documents or witness. So, what are the initiatives have been undertaken this National Human Rights Commission? As a part of its mission to advance and defend human rights in India, the National Human Rights Commission takes on a range of projects. Among these following, the examining legislation such as 2000 Prevention of Terrorism Bill and Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Act. The defense of human rights in terrorist and insurgent areas have been done by NHRC. Also establishing policy to prevent police abuse of their arrest authority. Human rights cells are established at state city police headquarters. Actions to be taken to prevent torture, rape and deaths in custodies. Also adherence to additional protocols to the Geneva Conventions and the Convention Against Torture. Comprehensive changes to the legal system, prisons and other detention facilities also have been done under NHRC. Also safeguarding the human rights of HIV or AIDS affected individuals. So these are the various initiatives taken under the National Human Rights Commission. That's all from our today's topics. To read this document, you can visit our website. The website link is given in the description. To get more daily current affairs videos, follow our YouTube channel, also our Telegram channel. Thank you.